Go ahead, yes. Here it goes, yeah. That's the Brandon I know. Welcome to CAPECAST. We are back this week. We have decided that we are going to start reviewing WandaVision episodes. So we're going to kind of jump in mid-season here and kind of recap everything that we've seen so far, and then following weeks we will go episode by episode. But we've got a special guest with us here this evening, Chris.
Hey, Chris.
Back again.
How you doing?
Hey. Great
Welcome
here,
back
guys.
to the CAPECAST.
That's
Like
right.
I'm in the cave. Feels good.
It's so much better than that show with Al, right?
I don't even talk about that.
Love your
show.
setup. Love your shadowed up field. Looks nice.
Ryan inspired me.
Brandon
You'll
is
get there.
he's working
You'll
on
get
it. Brandon's working on
I'll
it.
get there.
Yeah.
I will get
So,
there.
guys, let's kind of go around the horn here, and obviously we're talking about 5 episodes, but real quick
I think we
summary of.
I think we should kind of say why we haven't been doing an episodic review because
Well, I was going to get
I'm
into
actually
it,
interested
but
to do
sure.
this as well.
Okay, Brandon, lead the way.
Well,
Lead
I
the way.
mean, I think
You got
so. We talked about it. We had a lot of fun doing Mandalorian week to week.
For sure.
And a lot of people checked those videos out. Did well for us. This show, we were a little like unsure just because we didn't have a lot of interest in it. Ryan and I don't know about Chris. Can't speak for him, but
So we're all on the same page.
okay. But I was like, I mean, maybe we should do it just to do it, be something to do weekly. You know, that's always fun. That's the fun of, that was a lot of the fun of doing Mandalorian was the week to week thing.
Yep.
And having an excuse to get together and talk about it and theorize. But it was just more fun because we were super into it. Anyway, so yeah.
I think, I mean, for me, it was partly because of the characters that have been introduced in the MCU, these are two that don't, for whatever reason, just haven't appealed to me a ton. It's not that I dislike them, but the idea of exploring this relationship in a TV show wasn't something that I was like craving, I guess. So I think that was a big part of it for me.
Yeah, I mean, and they didn't really do themselves many favors with the marketing because it just seemed like it was going to be at face value, just, oh, we're doing, you know, a different decade every episode, and it's just going to be like, I mean, you didn't really know what the show was going to be. And by the first 2 episodes, it was like, okay, it seems like they are laying the groundwork for something that they could kind of develop over, you know, the season.
Right.
But is it that interesting? I don't know. Like, it was just like there wasn't a ton of like, I guess, hooks being laid.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I texted Brandon after I watched the first 2 episodes because we were thinking about doing an episode by episode on WandaVision. I texted him and I was like, I can't do it. Like,
It would be like trying to do an episode of I Love Lucy. Like, so when she came home,
Yeah.
the pie.
Right.
Like,
well, that's the thing. When I talked to Brandon about it after the fact, after episode 3, where it kind of at the end starts to hook you a little bit, and then 4 you kind of dive right in. But I feel like they would have benefited from trying to combine the first 2 episodes.
oh yeah.
Because I just felt like it was just like, I felt like a lot of spinning wheels to me.
Well, I mean, it was kind of telling on their part that they released 1 and 2 together on the same day, and they released, I think, the first 3 episodes to critics and bloggers and such, just to kind of be like, look, we know this is that they knew going into it that it was going to be a slow burn type thing, and that I mean, I don't know if I would love to see what their viewership has been. I doubt they would release it, but I imagine that a lot of people just kind of gave up on it. And I wasn't necessarily to the point to where I was going to give up on it, because I think, Ryan, you were a lot more negative than I was on it, and I think Chris was as well.
I will not be shy about the fact that I was not into this show through the first 2 episodes.
Yeah.
I saw a lot of people online saying how much they loved these episodes, these early ones.
Yeah.
And I gotta think it's just like a Kool-Aid thing of like Marvel popped up, so they're saying they love it. maybe I'm missing something, but I just don't get what's to love.
That's how I felt. I was like,
them.
I don't understand how these reviews are so irreverent about something like this. Like, I get that. Like, Brandon, you have a good point about it definitely being something different from Marvel.
Yeah, no, I mean, that was my whole thing was, well, we complain about Marvel kind of being more formulaic and cookie cutter and popcorn, whatever. This is at least, it's a big swing for them, and I gave them credit for that. And it was well done for what they were doing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It just wasn't, it was just kind of boring is the only thing. Mm-hmm. Like, it was, the production value was good, acting good, this, all the kind of the gimmick of them doing this, TV show from different decades was cool. It just wasn't super interesting until it was. Do you want to get into that now?
Correct. Yeah, so we can kind of do the normal around the horn kind of thing. And Chris, you can lead the way if you want, but we'll just give brief thoughts and then we can kind of dive into stuff.
Yeah, I mean, like we just said, the first few episodes really did nothing for me. Even episode 3, I mean, that's when I was thinking, like, okay, finally it will start to grab me a bit, and still falling flat. I think I was with Brandon actually when 4 came out, and you had texted him when I was with him saying, like, you'd finally been hooked. That one definitely was a nice change for me. We finally got to see, like, behind the scenes a little bit of what's happening outside of Westview or whatever the town is called. But still, I wasn't, like, super excited. And even to this point, I have a whole lot of complaints with this show, but the way that they ended episode 5, they got me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
I'm right there with you.
Yeah.
Brandon.
No, I mean, I think.
What do you think?
I think I wasn't, again.
And by the way, we're gonna go ahead and say spoilers.
Yeah.
From now on, like, yeah, that's right. Everything here is spoilers after this moment.
I think for me, they left enough small little, like, breadcrumbs, even from the first episode, that I was like, okay, I can see this getting good. It's not good yet, but I can see that it could get good. Mm-hmm. I wasn't completely, out at that point. But yeah, I mean, episode 3, the ending of that was pretty. I mean, it wasn't like a game changer. It was like, okay, we're moving a little bit, and then obviously, and then episode 4, when you kind of pull the curtain back, you have the whole, you get to see the wizard, so to speak. That's when it was like, oh, okay. I mean, they hinted that something at the end of the first 2 episodes, I think they had those
like
little,
the helicopter thing and stuff.
The helicopter, and the beekeeper and a lot of, at the time. I mean, I figured they would kind of reveal what that was about. But as far as, like, they had the little, like, button scenes, or I guess they were button scenes, but with whoever was watching the TV, they had a couple of those, and so you knew it was going somewhere. But it took a little. I wonder if, in hindsight, an episode like episode 4 would have been, at least from an audience perspective, to be able to, because like I said, I just don't feel like a lot of people stuck with it. Now, I bet now that the word's gotten out that, I bet a lot of people have returned to it. But anyway, I mean, episode 4, the whole sword stuff, and I don't know anything about sword. I don't know anything about a lot about Vision or.
Did you ever see? Did you ever end up seeing Captain Marvel?
No. I know who this character is, the Rambo character. I know that she's the daughter of the pilot in Captain Marvel. But yeah, starting that episode with the snap, or I guess the Hulk snap, bringing people back, was cool to see. It was a good, it was a good, like, and I've heard a lot of people make the statement, and I agree. It was a very, like, a tonally, Spider-Man Far From Home dealt with it in kind of a comedic way, but they dealt with this very seriously and showed just the pandemonium that, And it's fun. Somebody, I can't remember who said this, but they were like, "What about the people that so they bring them back wherever they were, apparently, the last time when they were actually snapped. What about the people that were in airplanes? They just like free falling
Yeah.
from the sky.
Right.
Show that, you know? Let's get dark here. Zack Snyder needs to make some Marvel movies. He'd do it. But nah. Yeah, so that was I love that scene. And you know, when I think we talked about this on CiNEMACHiNE, but when they talked about this being like a $250 million budget, we're like, where is the budget? It seems like we're going to be getting into that as this show kind of progresses.
Yeah, I'll kind of echo what they both just said. I also, I feel like they would have been better served to lead with some of the, like they just released that mid-season trailer last week, I think it was, or maybe 2 weeks ago. But I feel like they would have been better served to obviously not give that much away, but like give some kind of indication in the promotional materials that this isn't just a decade hopping sitcom. Like,
right.
I don't know. That was just the thing for me. And I think as what we talk about on the Mandalorian episodes is about it being so procedural, right, Brandon?
Yep.
Know that word.
That's the word.
I think watching those first 2 episodes and knowing kind of how at times Mandalorian can be like slow on the main story and like you just get your little nugget at the end of the episode. It was just that combined with the fact there wasn't a lot going on in the first 2 episodes. And I was just like, I don't know if I can do this.
Yeah.
But like you guys said, at the end of season or at the end of episode 3 and episode 4, man, this thing gets rolling full steam and very intriguing.
It's definitely a lot more serious than I expected to be, and makes the character of Wanda so much more interesting than she ever has been, in my opinion. And how she's kind of dealing with this grief. I mean, it's her and Vision's relationship was a relation. It's not as forced or bad as like Hulk and Natasha's relationship, but it's still not something that was very explored. Granted, they didn't have a ton of time. There's a lot of characters to deal with, but this, at least, you know, if you can accept that they were a close couple, then this kind of aftermath, you know, is the way she's dealing with it.
Like they kind of explored in Age of Ultron, where I think that was her first movie, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Where she went full accent.
You know, they kind of explored that. Do I?
Where she went full accent.
Right. Still, that whole thing is still so jarring for me.
I bet she's like, I bet she's hating that she's got to do the accent
when she was out in the
but she was like going
when she was out in the field, out in the field in this last episode. I was like, oh, so it's back, kind of.
A little bit.
Yeah.
But Age of Ultron, they kind of explored her dark side a little bit, but you know, ever since then, it's kind of she's just been an Avenger. The hero type. And Chris, I know you, me and Brandon are very much on the DC side of things. I have a little bit of DC Comics knowledge, but I have virtually no Marvel Comics knowledge. What can you kind of add on her background and what they're touching on with this show?
Yeah, I mean, I never really watched much of the marketing material for this, so my impressions going on were very different from you guys. I mean, you were just saying how you were thinking just like this, you know, time jumping weird sitcom thing. But as soon as I kind of heard about the show, I immediately thought of like the House of M event that they did in the Marvel Comics in like the early 2000s. And while I didn't read those comics, I started getting bigger into like the main Marvel comic universe with all the Fallout stuff that happened, which was a ton. I mean, it was like a really big deal. So basically, as I remember from what the House of M event was like, she kind of like went a little crazy with grief. I think it was like over her kids that may have died or something in the comics. And somehow, I don't know if like Xavier was involved, but in any case, she has like this almost like mental break, and she just like breaks reality in a sense. Like most mutants are just gone. Like certain people are dead. Certain people are back. Like certain people don't have powers. It was just like, it just changed the fabric of what that universe was. And like fallout from that was like, the New Avengers, the Secret Invasion, Civil War, like all these things really kind of came out of that, like the big stories that we've seen in the Marvel Universe and the movies that they've used. I mean, Civil War, obviously, we saw with Captain America and Age of Ultron. Secret Invasion, we started to see with Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
You know, I'm thinking we're probably going to start seeing New Avengers, given kind of where they are. So, I mean, all of these things kind of came out of that House of M event. So I had the, you know, impression that this was going to be somehow kind of based on that, like just an easier way of telling this break in her psyche. That maybe it's not affecting everything. That'd be like really hard to do with the movies, but you know, obviously we're seeing this bubble event. That's kind of where my head was with it the whole time. Obviously, maybe it's a little different than I was expecting. It seems like maybe there's like a puppet master or something, somebody else involved. I don't really know, but that's kind of where my head was, just based on the comics that I had read and been familiar with.
So, you mentioned the mutants. I guess we can kind of talk a little bit about the big reveal at the end of the last episode. We've officially gotten into the crossover world, whatever they're gonna end up calling it, multiverse. And we saw Quicksilver from the Fox.
The good Quicksilver.
Yes, the Fox movie universe. Which I have a fondness for. Those movies are very hit and miss, but I do have a fondness for the Fox mutant universe. So it was really, really cool to see them kind of diving headfirst into that so quickly.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't know. You guys want to talk about what you were kind of expecting when they opened the door? Is that something that was even kind of in your periphery?
Well, I wasn't necessarily expecting I was expecting quick. I honestly expected Aaron Taylor Johnson to be at the door.
So did I. Yeah.
Even before you see the back of the head and stuff, and I was like,
right.
I was like, they got him back, got him to come back, because we talked about. I think we talked about, you know, if they would, you know, use like her, like, since they're doing this like kind of living in her head or whatever she's doing, and not living in her head. We thought that was all going to be in her head at the beginning, but it seems like it's actually really real people now. But yeah, we talked about, wonder if they'll end up getting Aaron Taylor Johnson to come back to reprise his role.
Yeah,
like she brings him back somehow. She's got Vision back, so obviously she could bring her brother back. But the fact that she's got apparently a dead body of Vision that she's like controlling,
right?
And that's, I mean, it's something that I didn't expect Marvel to do, and I give them props for doing it.
Vision was a pretty gnarly look too.
Yeah,
like his head's all ripped out and he's all gray.
Yeah, I gotta be honest. The little baby or kid Vision.
Yeah,
in the last was great. So good.
That reminded me so much of like Ron Howard's Grinch movie when the Grinch is a little kid.
I hate Christmas.
The makeup was so great.
But yeah, no, I don't know about Chris, but I definitely didn't expect Evan Peters. If I was gonna guess if there would have been a crossover, I would have guessed it would have been like a Fassbender Magneto type thing.
That was something
which
I guess
still could happen. Or
so I think
Ian McKellen. I don't think Ian McKellen would be the one that they would go to just because of his age. But
isn't she his tech and some iteration of the comics, isn't she his daughter?
I mean, in all the comics, the MCU. I mean, as far as I know,
both of them.
There's so many comics and different universes within the comics, but from everything I'd ever known about Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver, it was Magneto's twin kids. Yeah.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, that would be awesome if they integrate Fassbender into, into the MCU.
That would be awesome. Yeah.
It would be cool if they had, if they used Ian McKellen, but I just don't think it's the right move for long-term type thing if they're wanting to keep these characters around.
Hugh Jackman coming back.
Oh, man. Hey, they're already talking about Deadpool 3, how they're going to integrate him. So it'd be interesting to see how they start to shoot, man. I just wasn't expecting this to happen so quickly.
Well, they announced, whenever they announced that they were doing Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, then it came out that Wanda's going to play a big part in that. And so this seems like this is like the lead up to how that's going to, and obviously they also, rumors about Spider-Man having multiverse type stuff.
Sure.
So
I think that's a given based on the way that the last movie kind of wrapped up.
Right.
The extent of it, who knows, but yeah.
So it's exciting. I mean, I know that we've complained about this before, that Marvel's beaten DC to this.
I knew you were going to go here.
As DC diehards like we are, it's like...
it kills me, yep.
Because this Flash movie kept getting kicked down the road.
Flash movie, yep.
And now,
get it done.
Now they're getting the jump. So
I think we're behind the 8 ball on that one. Yeah.
Well,
maybe we'll do it differently.
We're copying Marvel again. I can already see the articles. It's all right. But yeah, I mean, who do you got as far as like, how do you think they're going to approach the mutant element in terms of, do you think they will just like cherry pick some of the Fox characters that were success? Obviously Deadpool, they're obviously using him, but do you think they're going to just like, is this whole like Quicksilver thing just like a wink and a nod thing? Is Quicksilver going to be a thing that goes forward with Evan Peters, or is it just for this show, like to show that there's like, multiverse type elements that they're going to introduce, and this is not something like him as a character?
Think he goes forward.
Yeah,
I mean,
think so.
The fact that to me, when Scarlet Witch hit the MCU, like with Quicksilver, like I said before, like it was weird that they were characters without Magneto, that they were characters, not mutants. That's all I had ever known them as. So now that they can just give them what they're supposed to be, and I mean, Evan Peters' Quicksilver was the highlight of all those recent X-Men movies. That's money to be made. True. So I don't see how they don't just go balls to the wall with it.
Yeah, I certainly hope that this isn't a little give you a little taste and dip out kind of thing. There's so much fun that could be had with this. I mean, shoot, if you got a movie coming out that's called The Multiverse of Madness, I certainly hope you're willing to,
deliver on that.
Get a little nuts. Yeah. Like, I mean, especially all the assets that they were able to acquire in that Fox deal. Like, there's just so much fun you could have with it.
Yeah. I mean, I know that I haven't read any of them, but I keep seeing the articles about Fantastic Four being set up with this, and I wonder if they'll cherry pick certain actors to bring over to reprise those roles, or if it'll be mostly, new casting type stuff.
I will say, and as a DC fan, unapologetic DC fan, it needs to be said that it's amazing what Marvel has done with this universe that they have built and are building.
Yeah. I mean,
it's just crazy how they
I want to see
going.
I want to see their whiteboards.
Oh, I know. Like, just the tree that just keeps expanding, and they're doing it successfully every time too. I'm envious as a DC
fan. Yeah. Well,
Brandon's like, oh gosh, dark times.
Although in this past episode, did you guys think it was like a little weird how the Sword agents like had this almost like moviegoer fanboy argument of like, well, she could have beaten Thanos on her own. It's like, well, Captain Marvel could have too, and it was like this weird kind of took me out of it moment.
Disney can get away with that stuff though. Yeah. That's what's funny. I was talking to Brandon about this. Randall Park in this show, the agent, federal agent that who's the girl from Thor?
Oh,
Kat.
yeah, I don't know her
Dennings
name, but I know
or
you're talking
something.
about.
I don't know her name in the
Yeah,
show,
so-
but Kat Dennings is the actress.
Yeah, he's been great in this show. Like from the card trick thing that they have teased in previous projects, and he's just a good comedic element to the show, lighthearted character. But he's also an Aquaman, kind of trying to serve as the same role, and like you mentioned, Brandon, as a reshoot. But he's just not like, I don't like him in Aquaman. It's just not this. It's just not the same.
I think we hold that to a different standard, you and I, as far as, and it's true. It just feels
like,
it feels forced in Aquaman,
comedy,
where it feels natural here.
Exactly. That's where the issue is. Like, Disney gets away with the comedic beats because they write better for that stuff, and that was just one glaring thing that I was thinking about as I was watching the last episode specifically. It's just how much more I enjoyed his character, who essentially plays the same character.
Yeah, no, he does. I mean,
in Aquaman, and
I didn't
for
think
whatever
that far into Aquaman.
Sorry, guys. Get off the show. Why don't you go start a Marvel CAPECAST?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much more. Do you guys have any like theories as far we're kind of a little bit over the mid? Well, I guess it's 9 episodes, so we're kind of right there on the fringe.
Yeah, man, I just feel like I'm just very like that. The biggest question is how they're gonna handle Quicksilver. Like, is that gonna be something that's gonna be a driver in the show, or is it just here and gone kind of thing? That's obviously the thing that I'm most interested in. I will say, like we were talking about, kind of exploring this dark side of Wanda potentially being the villain in this show is intriguing as well. So I'm excited to see where that goes, see how that plays out.
And I'm sure this is intended to be multi-seasons, or is it just like this season?
They haven't said.
Okay.
I think they've very specifically not said.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like anything, if it's successful, it could. But I just don't see them.
It's weird with the movie tie-ins.
I don't see them doing another season. I mean,
yeah.
Just doesn't seem
especially
like,
with them doing this mutant stuff, it feels like this show has a very specific purpose.
Yeah.
Like
I hope
that
so.
they're trying to accomplish with it. Yeah. That's true. Yeah. But yeah, those are probably the two storylines that I'm most interested in following as we go along here. But what about you guys? Anything
Chris,
different?
I'll let you go.
Not really. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what to expect going forward. I don't know really what I'm looking for. The show's just kind of like throwing me for a loop so far. Maybe it'd be cool to see more of these things like Quicksilver, and maybe they're not hanging out in the show as like an ongoing thing, because that could get pretty heavy. But maybe we see them like leave the bubble, and then we kind of know, okay, are they hanging out now? Are they like somewhere doing something?
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see how much this show opens up in terms of scale and scope.
$225 million budget rumored.
Yeah, it's got to be.
Which is crazy.
That's a major blockbuster budget.
Yeah.
Is it true that
And
they've never
shoot,
used
let's
the
be
word
honest. The
Scarlet
first
Witch?
3 episodes, they didn't spend much
$10
on them.
What'd you say, Chris?
Is it true that in the MCU they haven't actually used the name Scarlet Witch yet?
Yeah, I don't think they have.
Yeah, that's correct.
Wanda.
Yeah.
We'll see. Maybe she'll get a nickname.
I mean, they can
They
use
like
it now.
credit her
I don't
on,
think.
like,
I don't think they
IMDb with
could
it,
use
though.
it. I don't think they could use the
Did-
Scarlet Witch moniker.
Do you think we're gonna end up seeing? And I guess it was kind of hinted at in the last episode. More of a confrontation between Vision and Wanda.
Oh, definitely. Yep.
Like it would be cool to see. It'd be cool to see them actually go toe to toe. Like other than them just like emotionally backing down. Because I don't know.
I mean, if he has any free will, I just don't understand the mechanics of him.
Yeah, I'm confused by that as well.
So we'll see. But
That's a good point. Yeah, I haven't really thought about it like that. It's got a fundamental of his character.
Yeah, I don't know, because it's weird, because he obviously he's sensing the offness of what's going on, but he? But then she'll like correct it, rewind it, or fast forward, whatever, and then like.
Do you think they could retcon it with him not having the stone anymore, and like it? I don't know, freeing him or something, or I don't know.
Maybe. Yeah, I mean...
But then again, is he just a dead body?
Yeah, I mean...
Who knows?
Marvel Zombies was another cool series that they did.
Hey, there you go. Could be a tie-in.
Deadpool jumped around in it a lot.
What were you saying, Brandon?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I was just kind of thinking about... Just trying to wrap my head around how him existing... plays out as far as him being sentient or not. Like I said, I just feel like they've hinted and shown moments where he is like challenging her, and I don't think she would do that on her own. She wouldn't challenge herself, so it's got to be something to do with. Maybe she would. Maybe it is an internal struggle. I don't know.
It did kind of feel like he was fighting back against whatever she was creating in that bubble in the last episode, and they had some dialogue about it. I don't have specific quotes on it.
He said something like he thought at the beginning that it was like subconscious kind of a thing, but now he thinks that she's become aware of it and she's doing it on her own or something along those lines.
Yeah. I mean, they could say that it is any like time that he's actually, bucking against her is her own self doing that. Like she's projecting like, it's an internal struggle type thing, but I don't know. It'll be interesting. I did really like how they ended that last episode with the credits. Like she just like started rolling the credits to like trying to get out of that like argument. Yeah. And then they're still like fighting over the like happy music, and that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, there's that's the thing. Like, I guess that's kind of what was missing in the first 2 episodes. Was it just felt like it was all that, and there wasn't. Yeah. Like they weren't fighting to break through that wall at all. Yeah. Or enough. Like there was little stuff, I guess, but could have used more of that. Like some of the moments in the show where they like are like talking to somebody and they both like freeze and like or drop a glass or like and just something's like weird is going on.
I think I told you guys at the end of that first episode when the end credits came up and it's showing like little screens and all that stuff floating around and some names. I honestly thought that was opening credits, and I was like, wow, that was a really long opener.
It's the longest.
I thought they were like going to show me what the show is. It wasn't me like I Love Lucy, but I honestly thought the closing credits were the opening credits.
Got him. All right, guys. Brandon, you got any one more things that you're gonna interrupt me with, or is that you wrapped on this one?
That's it. That's all I got.
All right. Well, I'm looking forward to jumping back into this one, starting a new weekly thing, kind of like what you talked about, Brandon. It's fun to do the kind of check-in as you're watching something like this.
Chris, we would definitely enjoy having you back for that if you're able and willing.
Yeah. Dig up some of those old Marvel comics, see what I can offer.
Okay.
Hey, I like where your head is. All right, guys. I think it's about time we signed off. You can find us if you're enjoying the show, you like what we have to talk about. We're doing a little different here. We're
talking about Marvel, guys.
Trying to appeal to a broader base. We recommend you check us out at CAPECAST Show on Twitter. We're really active on there. We love chatting with you guys. So definitely give us a follow there. And obviously let us know what you think about the episode, what you think about WandaVision so far down in the comments here on this video. And until next week, Brandon, Chris.
So long.
Sayonara.